Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hobby CNC with Dave show. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're just doing kind of a Q&A tonight. So if you have any questions about CNC or pretty much anything, but I've got a few smart fellows here on the panel tonight. So let me bring them in. First of all, I got my sidekick, Wolfman, here. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing all right. I'm not one of the smart ones.
Okay. Well, you can still be the sidekick, though.
Yeah, I'm sidekick.
And we have, in no particular order here, we have Mr. Rob Schuster.
Welcome, evening, Rob. Everyone. Evening. How's it going?
Doing great. Got Mr. Cody Elkins coming back.
Hi, guys.
Just happens to be the sponsor of our weekly giveaway, so we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Got Sean over here at Klondike. How you doing, Sean?
Doing great. And you guys?
Doing good.
Good.
And we've got Mr. Paul Corliss coming back from Paul's Missy Workshop. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Glad you're here. So just a few little things, like I said, in case this is your first time here. I see a few names that don't just jump out at me, so you might be new. But if you want to ask a question, just put it in the chat. If you would, put a Q in front of it or a couple of Qs, and my buddy Ryan can spot them a little easier that way, and he'll flag them for me. And also, I'm going to be setting up the giveaway here in just a second, and we'll do that towards the end of the show. But as I mentioned, Cody and Cadence Manufacturing and Design sponsors our giveaway. And we will have, let's see, the Downtown Jenny, right? That's what we're doing tonight, Cody?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's going to be this beautiful thing right here. I have one of these, and I can vouch for sure that they work fantastic. So if you want in on that drawing, you'll want to put hashtag Jenny somewhere in the chat. If you want to do it now, go ahead and get it out of the way. That's fine. I'll be setting up the giveaway tool, and we will do that drawing a little later in the show. And I will be throwing that up there again a few times also too. So if you don't remember what it is, you'll get a chance to put it in here in a little bit. So how about I'm going to ask you guys here while we're waiting for any questions that might pop in here. What's new going on? Ryan, you want to give a shop update on your shop and what you got going on there?
Sure. Yeah, today was a pretty good day. Got out there this afternoon after it stopped raining here, and got most of the sidewalls put on. So have to still do the end walls and put in a lot of screws for them, but it's making progress. It's pretty exciting. And looking at it from the house, I was like, oh, yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah. Good deal. I know it's we were talking before we went live here that now it's transitioning from a pole barn to what looks like a shop now. So it's got to be exciting.
Yeah.
So good deal. All right, Rob, what's up on your end? Anything new going on down there in Arizona?
We're working on a new drum rim design, which is hard to explain. Maybe I should share my screen for a second. I can show what I'm talking about because it'll take longer to explain it than actually show it.
We love shared screens.
If I can figure it out. Yeah, I'm trying to click it and it's not letting. Oh, window. No, entire screen. It's grayed out. What am I doing wrong?
Okay. You hit
there we go.
Share button.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. Now we're talking.
I am going to try to make a drum rim out of diagonal slats like that. And there's a video coming out. I was hoping to have it done today, but maybe tomorrow, maybe not.
Now, what kind of wood is that?
That's actually beech. I bought a bunch of stuff at an auction a couple years ago, and there's a lot of rough cut beech that's good wood, but really rough cut. So it takes a lot of time to get it right. But for little 1.5-inch slats like that, it wasn't too much work to get those to work. But if it works, I'll probably do them out of hickory. But been thinking of doing something like this for a couple years actually, but had never really had. I don't know. There's a lot of thought process went into that and different ideas. I built a jig that I kind of called Jigzilla, which. So we'll again. There should hopefully be a video tomorrow or in the next week on what I've done so far.
You have any photos of the jig?
Let me see.
I love a good jig.
That is it right there.
Okay.
They catch that edge and wrap all the way around.
Yeah.
And then I have a big flat piece of wood I clamp down from the top. When I clamp that one down, that first one, I don't. My pressure is even. I've got a few little gaps in there which I can't have, but I can fix that. I'm gonna. There'll be the same slats I think on my clamping slab that I put on top. So
okay. Now what'd you make that jig out of? It? I guess you made that on the CNC, right?
Oh yeah. It's well, it's hard to see, but
oh okay.
Like,
it's like the fiberboard press board or whatever that is.
Yeah, OBC, whatever. But
yeah.
I was gonna buy some MDF, and I went to sticker shock when I went to Home Depot, and I figured, no, I'm going to find whatever I have in the garage and use that.
Right.
And then I wrapped it in just tape so the glue wouldn't stick to it, so I could get it back out of the jig.
Nice. Okay, that's why it's looking shiny then, I guess.
Yeah, because I figured once the glue gets to it, it'll never come back out.
Right. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
That is going to look so awesome.
I hope so. If not, it was fun trying it. Oops.
Yeah.
I zoomed in. I can't see it. But.
Yeah, that should be pretty cool. I can't wait for the video on that one.
Well, I say hopefully tomorrow, but I don't know. You never know until you're done.
Yeah,
Okay.
really cool.
All righty. Let's see. Let me pop that off.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going around the horn here. How about you, Paul? You got anything to update us on? Any exciting new projects or?
I've been trying to 3D print.
Okay, hold on. Let me
Okay.
see if I can get you solo here. Okay, there we go.
I've been trying to 3D print this thing.
Oh, okay.
And also a nut that goes on it.
Uh-huh.
And the story behind this is, I think I might have told you, Dave, is that my son has a BMW motorcycle with a sidecar. And this holds the lock that locks the seat back in place. And he said, can you make me one? Because the one that he had was broken. So this is prototype number probably 4. And I got looking online, and he could buy a new one for $35. I said, I got $35 tied up in plastic. and it still doesn't work. The problem I'm having is getting the threads on the body to match the threads on the nut. Because as you tighten them down, they seize. And so I have to, I couldn't figure out how to do it in the program that you use, so I went back to Fusion 360 because it's easy to put threads on that. And I think I have to offset the faces on the threads to get a little extra space in there. But that's what I've been playing with is that silly thing right there.
Okay. Yeah, but you can buy one for $35, but think of all that fun you're having.
I'm having, yeah. And the one for $35 comes with a new lock and 2 keys.
Yeah, who needs that? You know? Okay. All right, Sean, what you got going on? Anything new you're working on?
Just testing out the laser with tiles, actually. Um, you can get the Cermark spray, a little too expensive, so I've been trying out different paints and burning it onto the tile or etching it into the tile.
Okay. Well, I've seen the photos you've been posting on Facebook. Man, the tiles are looking awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's something different. I like to experiment.
Oh yeah. They look great. And Cody, what have you got going on?
Well, in
Any
regards to this,
update on the 60-degree?
yeah, so they're in production as we speak. I'm going to be opening up pre-orders in about 2 weeks. So the goal is to open up pre-orders 1 week before I can ship them, and I should be getting all the bits the last day of this month. So in about 2 weeks, I'll open pre-orders, and then the first week of July, I'll be shipping everything out.
Okay. Well,
So
I've got my little notify me when they're ready
Awesome.
button all checked and stuff. So I hope I can get in on that and get one of those.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah, that's
excited
awesome.
for it. But on top of doing all the bit stuff, I've been doing a lot of laser work too. And Sean, you're right, man. That Cermark, they sure are proud of that product.
Oh yeah.
It's super expensive.
Last time I looked, it was over 50. So yeah, just for a
Yeah,
can.
it's no joke. I mean, it looks great once you get it on there right and get it all lasered up. But I just did some work for a business here in the valley. I think it was like a coffee and tea shop, but they had me cut a bunch of huge foam letters. And what they're doing is they're going to put all the letters on the wall and put concrete over the foam. So they're going for that industrial look, and so I got to make all the letters for them, and then they're putting a bunch of custom like LED lights in the shop. So they had me cut up a bunch of acrylic like triangle pieces so they can hang it from the ceiling.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's been a busy week for sure, but I'm happy to just get that all off my plate and be done. So
Now, when you were saying laser engraving, the foam. Now, are you cutting the foam out with the laser too, or? Are you cutting, oh, really? Okay, I haven't done that yet.
yeah, it went quick. I was cutting 1-inch styrofoam. I think I was like at 50 power, and then, gosh, I don't remember, like 50 speed, I think. I don't know. It went pretty quick. It took like 30 seconds to cut out one letter.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it was moving.
It's always nice to have a mix between like your laser and your CNC router, and of course these guys back here.
Yeah, it's nice being able to do the laser CNC combo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to the last few days.
Okay, good deal. I see Brian's got a few questions tagged, so let's take a look and see what we've got over here. Brooks Martin says, Dave and panel just finished a 3D carve. There were excessive fuzz and ingrained strains. Any thoughts? My first thought, this is my 2 cents worth. Always, really when doing anything on a CNC, always back the gantry back out of the way and take a good look at it before you ever unclamp anything.
Yeah.
Because as long as you don't move it, if it's got fuzzies, it's basically like with a V-bit or something, you can just hit cycle start, run it again, maybe even drop it down and drop the Z down another couple of thou or something. And that will get rid of a lot of it. May not get rid of all of it, but it'll get rid of probably most of it. That's my 2 cents worth. Who else got some good tips? Rob, I know you probably got some tips on that.
I was just looking through Amazon trying to find what they're called. It's a bristle disc I use goes in my Dremel.
Is it kind of like a flap wheel or something like that?
Let's share my screen again.
Okay.
I've had good luck with these things. Let's see. It still says still sharing?
No, oh wait, yeah, there it is. Hold on, you ready? You got it on?
I'm ready. Yep. That's what I use. I guess it goes at a Dremel. It does pretty good.
Okay.
And again, yeah, $13.78, so it's not that expensive. I put 3 of them in. One the collets. What do you call those things? Mandrel.
Arbor.
Yeah, I put 3 in, and it does good. If you put 1 in, it'll sand. It'll leave a line if you don't if you press very hard. So be gentle with it, and it takes off. But I've had good luck with those.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got any recommendations or tips?
I've used the brass brushes, the little wire brush, but
Yeah.
not the steel, but the light brass. And then I'll sit there and I'll hit it. It'll knock a lot of that stuff off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
a lot of times when I'm setting up my projects, when I'm doing 3D stuff, I pay attention to which way my grain's going. And typically what I'll do is instead of me going with the grain, I'll kick it over like 5 degrees when I'm running it. So it's kind of doing a cross cut against the grain the whole time. I found that manages a lot of the fuzzies for me. So instead of just going with the grain, I'll just kick it over 5 degrees and then send it. And that seems to work pretty good. And then I use the same thing. I'll use just a hard bristle brush when needed and just brush it right off.
Yeah. Or your wife's toothbrush or something like that.
I think she's got one of those hypersonic ones. I bet that'd work really good.
Yeah. There you go. And she probably wouldn't even notice it. Yeah.
Oh gosh, can you just imagine?
Okay. Let's see. Let's get another question here. Peter Van Fleet says, "Hey, Ryan and Dave, just want to let you know I've had my Porter Cable 890 on my Onefinity for a few weeks now, and everything is working great." Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, good deal.
Awesome. Now, I'm assuming, Peter, that the mount that you have for the 890 on the Onefinity sticks it out far enough that it doesn't hit and you don't have that clearance issue that JR had when he was running that smaller spindle. I'm going to assume that's the case. You can let us know. Also, let me take a second here to
Yep.
JR's hitting us up with the super chat again. He says, "A man who works with his hands is a laborer. A man who works with his hands and his brain is a craftsman. But a man who works with his hands and his brain and his heart is an artist." All right. Well, that leaves me out there. What is it when you're just a hack? That's what I thank you for the super chat, JR. You're the man, buddy.
Redneck engineering.
And also Bob P hit us up with a super chat. Much appreciated, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
Let's hit another question here. Let's see. We got a reply back to. He says, "Yes, milled." Okay, he made his own. Awesome. Which included the motor clearance to the stepper motor. Okay, good deal.
Nice.
So you don't lose any Z travel in. Let's see here. 3D HP says the Onefinity seems to be leaps and bounds superior to the long mill. What do you guys think? And yes, money is always a concern. What say you guys? I'll save my comment.
Yeah. Well, so I've never used a long mill personally, but I believe they use the angle iron on each side and then
Yep.
I got
the older ones, the ones they called the Mark I, used the angle iron. And you know, I had Andy Lee on my show, which is one of the founders of Long Mill. Had him on the show. It's been several weeks now, and they were just coming out with the Mark II, which now uses a custom extruded. I think it's kind of like a seat.
rail.
Kind of, yeah. I don't. It's extruded aluminum, but it's something custom. They come up with the design and got somebody to make it for them.
Yeah, it's pretty intense looking.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the long mill, is it belt drive, or is it threaded
It's,
rod, or
It's Acme screws,
okay?
Acme lead screws.
Yeah, so I've never used one. I have a couple buddy of mine that they have them and they love them. I have the Onefinity, and it's by far the best machine I've owned up until this point. It's awesome. I love it. But I have had the belt driven machines. I've dealt with the V wheels, and it's really nice not having to manage belts and wheels. That much I can say for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Paul, you got any comments? I know you're a Onefinity guy.
Yep, I have a Onefinity, and that's all I've ever used, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But I like it. It's a great machine.
Okay. Well, I've just got just one comment. I obviously haven't used either one of those. I have seen one of the older long mills in person and watched it run and stuff. And I have not seen the Onefinity other than tons of YouTube videos that I've watched, particularly JR here. He's got a lot of good videos out about the Onefinity. But I would say this. I would say they're, from what I can tell, they're both pretty good machines. And I kind of look at it like this. The Onefinity, I believe, is going to cost you roughly twice as much as the long mill. So, if you say, well, it seems to be leaps and bounds superior, I would say, well, it should be, because it costs a lot more. But I think they're both good machines. Like I said, I've seen the long mill, the older one, not the newer one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really see anything wrong with it. It seems like a pretty stout machine. I think they run basically, as far as the controller part, I think that's almost kind of the same thing as the Onefinity, which in my book, I don't really want to knock any machine, but in my book, if there is a weak link in the Onefinity, I would say it's the controller. And that's just based on what I know is in there and the comments I see on Facebook of people that have them. When you read stuff in Facebook groups and stuff like that, now not all, you kind of weed out the crazy folks. But when you see comments with people having legitimate issues with the machine or something, to me, that's kind of like reading a review of the machine. But I think they're both good machines, and I don't think if I wanted a machine, I don't think I'd have trouble buying either one of those. It would just depend on what my budget is. If I didn't have as much money, I'd go with a long mill. If I had probably a little more, I'd go with the Onefinity. But
How much is the long mill going for?
I think they start around $1,200 and something. I think, don't they? I mean, I hadn't looked because I'm not in the market for one, but I think that's about where they start, and then of course, depending on what kind of stuff you add on, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right.
Nothing beats my Gatton.
I mean, in a perfect world, you'd have one of each, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to get eventually. Is I want one of each of the machines. I
Yeah.
think that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, it's like, I've had several machines. And, you know, obviously the one right behind me here should be the best one I have because it costs the most. You know, if it wasn't the best one I had, then I would be mad that I spent that money. But it by far outperforms all the other ones that I have, and it should. You know, that's what you pay the money for. So,
You know, and I think a lot of what projects you're working on comes into play too. You know, if you're doing an occasional sign here and there that doesn't need a lot of rigidity, I mean, yeah, those smaller machines would work great. You know, I mean, I started with a Bob CNC, and I loved it. Like I had so much fun with that sucker. That's what started my whole journey was a Bob CNC. You know, and I started off just making like little signs for friends and family, and just kind of I just wanted to build a robot in my garage essentially. You know, but then once it started turning into more of a business thing for me, that's when I needed it to be, you know, faster. And, you know, I wanted to be able to take a deeper depth of cut. And, you know, so I think it really depends on the type of work you're wanting to do also, you know, when you're looking at machines.
Oh yeah, totally.
I see a lot of comments that people, and I've mentioned this before, but I see a lot of comments that people make in the Facebook groups, and whenever somebody new that hasn't got a CNC yet, you know, they're just a newbie, they join the group so they can ask questions and stuff, and they go, okay, I'm looking for a CNC. What do you guys suggest? And there's always that one guy that'll say, well, you know, buy your second machine first. And yeah, if you got the budget, that's great. But, you know, a lot of times people are starting out, especially if they're brand new, they may not even like it once they get doing it. So why spend a bunch of money? Just get whatever fits in your budget, whatever you have room for, you know, and especially if you're brand new and you don't even know what you're going to make with it, just treat it like, okay, this is my training CNC right here. I'll spin this, and it doesn't matter whether it's a, you know, X-Carve, a Shape Oco, or, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, get it, and you'll learn a lot, and then you can always sell it to somebody else who's in the same boat that you were in, just starting out, and then you can. Then you'll know the right questions to ask about a CNC. But it always just, you know, I guess I'm just getting to be a grumpy old man, but it always just makes me mad when I see people just give newbies the wrong information. I just want to tell them to shut up, but I don't. I just scroll on by. But yeah, you know, either give them some good advice or don't give any at all, I think. Anyhow.
Dave, you think that you're just getting to be a grumpy old man?
Well, I've been there a while, I guess. But anyway, let's moving on. Let's see. Thomas says, "Are there plans for the Gatton CNC or only with the kits?" I only sell the plans with the purchase of a Gatton CNC kit. I tried to do the plans only deal there for a while, and it just doesn't work because there's always somebody who's going to get them and then start posting them on the internet and stuff, and you just can't do it. I'm sorry, you know. So I'm only offering them with the kits. Okay, Kevin. I think he was talking about Paul trying to make that little widget. Said I'd buy him a new one and say, "Look what I did."
That's a brilliant idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, just keep the keys and stuff for yourself.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That's right. All right, let me go back up here and I should uncheck these comments as I'm doing them here. Oh, wait a minute. There's a bunch more. Oh, yeah, there was that comment. I think that one's for Cody right there.
Yes.
You knew somebody was going to.
Hey, I didn't
It's-
say it. It's a principle thing now. I don't want you to put the molding around your door anymore. I am pro no molding. You got too much to do.
That's funny.
Molding's for finishers. I'm not going to put a piece of molding on my building just to support you, Cody.
Dude, you are awesome.
Okay. RLLM says, my employer replaced some servos on a fixture and let me have the old servos. They are Schneider Electric LMH, blah, 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 48 volts DC, 1.86 Newton meters, and 3.5 amps. Would these be suitable for the X, Y, and Z axis? Probably. You know, you're not. I don't know what kind of machine you're talking about here, but if you got a pretty good sized machine, I think they would probably work. And I'm assuming since you have the number, you would probably be able to find some documentation by Googling that number and all the specs there. Which I always take stuff like that as a challenge when I got something where I don't really have a lot of information, you know, and you have to go digging for it to figure out how to make it work. I always like that. But yeah, I think they would probably work okay. 3.5, 3.5 amp, 48 volts. I think that, yeah, just make sure you have them a good enough power supply and stuff, and that should work. All right. Tim asked, what is the best way to cut a 3D project, with the grain or against the grain? Cody, you were just kind of talking about that one.
Yeah, I like to go, I'll set up my project to where my gantry is going like with the grain and like the Y direction, but then I'll kick it over like 5 degrees on my tool path and then run it. So I'll go with the grain and then just slightly off. That's how I do all my 3D projects.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people too. They'll do the circular motion. You know, they'll start in the middle and they'll do their 3D carve and just kind of ripple it out. I've never cut it that way, but I've always wanted to try it, see how that would look.
In general, I think going with the grain is better, though this 5-degree offset that Cody's talking about, I need to try that. But you might see tooling lines if you aren't with the grain. It hides tooling lines, so it's a little forgiving if you go that way, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've never done the other thing.
Yeah, I've never tried it either. I've seen several people do it, and I've wanted to try it, and I just haven't yet.
I've seen people use that pattern when it's not a circle and it's a square, and you can see where the bit changes direction, and yeah, you can see the tattletale lines. So
yeah.
Yeah, I've had the same issue as far as leaving a center line, because that's usually where it starts, is in the center and works its way out. And it'll, for some reason on mine, it will leave a fine, you can barely see it, but it's there. It's like the initial cut. And then if I just go back and forth, what is it, raster and linear? If I do it the other way, my items turn out a whole lot nicer. And that's with the grain too.
All right.
So
Yeah,
Cody, how do you? It just like worked into my brain about the 5-degree thing of what you were talking about. So are you when you are setting that up? Are you doing that in your design, like just turning the design a little bit, or are you doing it in the controller, changing it?
So it's in Carveco. Whenever I set up my toolpath to do my 3D relief cuts, I can go in there and make it go, left or right or forward or backwards. or I can just change the angle to 45 degrees or whatever. But what I was
Oh,
having
okay,
a lot
that's
of,
cool.
yeah, what I was running into, especially like on my grips, right? So I use a lot of hardwoods when I'm machining these grips out. And when I was cutting with the grain, I was actually sometimes having it splinter off right on the corners, and I was losing grips because of that. So I started tilting it 5 degrees off, and it eliminated any of the splintering with the grain, and it gave me just a fantastic finish. So like all of these pieces
Sweet.
are coming off my machine. There's like no sanding whatsoever, which is nice because I hate sanding with passion. So, but I'd really be curious to see what you think, Rob. Next time you do a 3D carve, try it 5 degrees off and tell me what you think.
I will try that. That makes sense. I had never thought of that. And by the way, you can change the angle 5 degrees in VCarve too. It's pretty simple when you set
Yeah.
up to 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can basically set it for whatever angle you want. In that. Okay, I think this is more of a comment than a question. I think Earl Walker says, I got a lot of fuzzies when I did texturing in the plywood I used. Oh, in the plywood, I used a wire wheel on a drill to get rid of the fuzzies. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. David Engel says, I can't seem to get my brain wrapped around the Z0 from the machine bed. I know how to do it, but I can't figure out all the ins and outs. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how I can explain that. Basically, if you do your Z0 on the machine bed, well, let me ask you this, David. What I can show you with my control software, but you may not use this. But if you use Mach 3, I'll show you what the difference will be. Get it to pop up here. And I don't know that I have, I'll pull a program up and I think I can maybe. I mean, when I look at your comment there, or question, I'm not sure I understand what you're having trouble getting your brain wrapped around. Okay, this has come up now, so let's see. Okay, let me see if I can pull a program of some kind in here. I don't know what I've got. I have to put my glasses on.
I don't know if David's talking about the if you can't figure out all the ins and outs. So when you zero off the bed, David, what it's doing is you're going off of a predetermined thickness. So even though you're using like, I don't know, let's just say 3/4 inch maple, for example, that might not actually be 3/4 of an inch. It may be a little bit less or even more, but let's just think about it as being less. So what'll happen when you zero off the bed is that you're not going to the bit is not going to go any further through for your profile cuts. So but the initial paths that it's taking, it may not be touching the surface of the wood at all because it's not genuinely 3/4 of an inch thick. Or even, or whatever the case may be. So maybe that's a bit about what you're talking about. That's kind of what I was getting from it.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and it'll probably be just a bunch of useless information here for you. This is just a sample program I've got pulled in here, and again, I use Mach 3. And this is programmed. I always tell people, if you pay attention to the display over here, and you can you can see my mouse moving around. You can tell by the crosshairs being in the center that this part is programmed with the 0 datum being right there in the center of the part. Well, also, if I come over here to toolpath, which again is another important thing I tell people to get used to looking at, is I can tell from my Z range, my program limits, the highest the Z is ever going to be is 0.8, and the lowest it's ever going to be is minus 0.76. So I can tell by looking at that I tell from the display it's zeroed in the center of the part, but I can tell by that program limits that it's zeroed on top of the part and not the machine bed. Because if it, and you notice this is 3/4 inch plywood, but I'm telling it to go down 0.76. So I want it to go 10 thousandths deeper than what I think the thickness of that plywood is. But if I was zeroing this at the machine bed, this would always be either 0, or if I told it to go 10,000 past, it would be minus 0.010. So, there's different, and I think Ryan kind of summed it up. It's basically, if you're not sure about the thickness of your material, if you do the machine bed and you have it programmed at you're telling it in the program that the board is 3/4 thick, 0.75, and it's actually, let's say it's 0.8. It's not really going to hurt anything, because that first pass, instead of, if you tell it to cut 1/8 of an inch per pass, it's only going to be cutting just a little bit more than that, which probably isn't going to hurt anything. So let us know if that helped any, or.
So what do you guys prefer? I always Z0 the top of my workpiece. I use a lot of fixtures. I build a lot of fixtures, so I know exactly where my material is going to be, and I give allowance to cut all the way through when I'm cutting out a profile. But for me, I always Z0 at the top of my material. What do you guys like?
That's what I do too. I always zero off the top.
I always reference the top, but when I cut something out in that tool path, I always put the name of the bit in the tool path. So I'll call it cutout 0.25 EM for end mill, and then I'll put the depth of that, like 0.72, just making up a number. Then for that cutout, I will go to when I set the Z height, I'll set it off the base, but I'll offset 0.72. Then I'll set minus 0.72 when I go that. So it always cuts through exactly right when I cut something out. But I'm technically referencing from the top of the piece, but I'm not. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, you're just doing like a Z offset.
Yeah, because that way I know it'll cut through exactly right. I'm not going too deep in the spoil board, because I'm always surfacing this stuff. Whenever I do something, I always surface the top, because if I'm doing like a V carve, if it's not perfectly smooth on the top, you won't get a consistent cut. So I always do that. So it's never the same twice. But if I reference from the base for that last cutout, it works good.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. It just depends. A lot of times when I'm cutting the Gatton CNC kits, I'm not touching that camera. But over here, leaned up just out of the shot here, I've got a skeleton. And I usually keep one of my skeletons. And what I do is I throw that on there, and then I throw my blank on top. And I'll tell, I run things probably different than anybody else. But I know my plywood is going to be a little under 750. It's never exactly 750. But I have also thrown plywood on there and not forget to measure the thickness, because usually I don't measure it. I usually just eyeball it and can tell if it's way off. But I throw it on top of that skeleton and clamp all that down, and then I will put in my program, I'll say to go that last thing to go to 0.78. So it's going 30 thousandths, which is a lot, but it's still not going to totally jack up my spoil board because I've got that other piece underneath. Now, if I'm cutting something where I don't have a sacrificial skeleton or something underneath it, and I don't care if I get my spoil board messed up because that's what it's for, but I don't want to put some big old gash in it. So a lot of times when I'm doing something that I'm putting right on the top of the spoil board, then I will use the Z from the machine bed. And that way I know it's only going to go to the top of the thing. And when you get done, a lot of times you can't even, it cut all the way through the part, but you can't even hardly tell where it hit the spoil board. So it just depends on what I'm cutting. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just whatever is the issue.
Motion detected at the front door.
Sorry.
No worries. You got somebody at your front door there, Cody.
That's going to go off even more because the wife's going to run out there and the kids are going to run out there and the dog watch.
Yeah.
If I shut out, can I shut down your shop?
Okay.
You know what? That's my e-stop. Yep.
Okay. We got that question up there. All right. Peter's back with another question. He says, is EMI an issue in general, or does it just happen to some folks depending on their setup? Is it an issue with inadequate wire shielding used by some CNC manufacturers? Somebody take that. I don't really have anything to say because I know it can be an issue. I've never had that, so I don't.
Yeah, I've never had a problem, and I mean, it may sound funny, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just the way my stuff is it's in such a mess that no two wires run together more than about 2 inches, and so I've never had a problem. It's just kind of like a mess of wires there, and I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues on my Onefinity, but I've had issues on my Shipoko, especially when I'm running the shop vac. Or if I'm cutting like MDF and running my shop vac, that's when I've had issues with the static electricity.
Motion detected at the front door.
That's the only time I've had issues with it.
I gotta go.
Sorry, guys.
I've never had
No
any
worries.
problems with that, but I kind of wonder if it's more grounding with the house or something like that. I wonder if that could have a issue with it. But if Cody, if you've had problems with one and not the other, then it kind of blows that theory out of the water.
Well, I think what it is because when I'm running my Shipoko, like it's connected to my laptop through like a USB to the controller on the machine, right? So I think that's where I have issues with the static electricity, is the interference between my laptop and the machine running. Because what'll happen, I'll be running, shop vac will be going, because I've done things to ground it out and to help with it. But what'll happen is my machine will just stop mid-flight, as if I lost connection to my computer. So, but since then, I've done things to help manage that, and I haven't had issues in a while. But I don't run my Shipoko very often anymore, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I've had the same problem with certain cords, especially longer ones. So if my laser, for instance, is further away from my computer than my CNC, once in a while with an old cord, I'll have issues with interference, especially into the laser. The CNC, not so much. Or the router, I should say. They're all CNCs.
Yeah.
I run into electrical interference with solar stuff. What happens is that the one brand in particular that I'm thinking of is it's a company called Enphase, and they do micro inverters. So they put one inverter underneath each panel, and so for a long time, probably 10 years, they were sending data on like the performance of each one of these through the neutral line in the house to the monitoring unit that was mounted somewhere else. And so for some people, it would have an issue, getting interference in with that. And then eventually they have now changed it so that they're sending the data on the HOTS, or like L1 in the house instead. So it could, I think the interference, just you get it or you don't. I don't really think there's one contributing factor that is leading to having it.
That's it. I've never had a problem, and I'm not going to touch it because I tend to break things when I try to fix things that are not really a problem.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's, here's another comment. Michael here, he says, I agree, Dave. If I had not built my $700 CNC, I never would have built the Gatton. I needed the experience to want to do more. Yeah, I just think, because like I said, some people, and I don't know what their situation is because I don't know the people, but I've seen a lot of people here lately in a Facebook group that they'll have some posts and they'll have a picture of their machine still in the box, and they'll go, yeah, I got a brand new such and such, and all I want is what I got in it. I don't have time for it, So they spend all this money buying something, and they, I don't know. I just think, if you start out smaller and just get something, especially if you're new and don't know anything, there's nothing wrong with some of them little machines. If they teach you how to do CNC, then they're worth every penny, I think.
And it helps you figure out what you want, or like what you end up doing with your CNC. Everybody wants to have these giant beds, and then they make coasters. Like what do you?
Yeah,
you got like
you're
20
right.
square feet of space that you're just not using. So
You're right. You're right. I mean, I
starting
know
out with
people.
a smaller machine can be a real.
I'm not going to mention any names, but I know somebody who built one real big and then turned around and tore it apart and downsized it, made it smaller. But, anyway, Troy says, Cody, these things are really lagging when I go to hit them. Cody wants to know if you want him to send you some oak molding.
Troy, you are a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you. But I actually have all the molding. I just haven't put it up yet. So
He'd probably make gun grip. He'd probably make gun grips out of it if you send him some.
You should hang it all right above the door and just like it's just in strips above the door and just leave them there like it's a trophy.
Yeah.
I should. I think that's a great idea.
It'll really irritate somebody. It'll be great.
Or just leave it in the corner, just sitting in the corner.
Yeah, it's just sitting there. Yeah. So JR was asking about my building. We talked about it a little bit before. It's coming along. It's getting there. With the sidewalls that are on there now, it's getting really dark inside. I noticed this afternoon when I was working on it. And so probably before I get the whole thing enclosed, I'm going to have to do some electrical and do some put some lights in there because it's going to be really dark really quick. So, but it's coming along good. Biggest surprise on the whole thing is how you can make it look like you know what you're doing, and it will stand. It's that I've built my shop essentially up until recently completely by myself, hanging the steel trusses and everything. I've done it all by myself, and had not had any help. But so things aren't necessarily 100% square on some things, but they were as good as I could get it for trying to do it all by myself. But the trim and the finished stuff, man, it makes it look like it's it makes it look like I know what I'm doing. And so
Yeah.
I've been pretty
All right,
happy.
now
with that.
you mentioned it's starting to get dark in there. Have you got any power run out there where you can do like a drop light or something?
Well, right now I have solar on the building itself already, so I do have electrical out there. I will have to, and I've already have it situated where I need to reorganize my electrical for the solar, so I can put a panel out there and stuff like that. So pretty soon it'll have some real electrical out there. So,
Okay, some real power.
yeah.
Okay, some cloudy day power.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, Ron says, any chance we can get some different variations on the Skinny Jenny?
Mr. Ron, dude, you rock, man. Yeah, actually, I have the 1/16 tapered ball nose, and I just developed a 1/8 tapered ball nose, and yeah, it's in testing, and it's been cutting really, really well. So I'm excited. That and the 1/4-inch ball nose, I got that one going too. So
I have a general question just on ball nose in general. I got one a long time ago, and it's still like I think it works great. How long should that last? Because I thought it would kind of wear out, but it's held up incredibly well. So I'm no expert on how long that should last.
yeah, I think it all depends on the type of material you're using. Obviously, your feeds and speeds. If you're running super high RPMs, you'll burn up your bit. So I think if you get your feeds and speeds dialed in, I mean, it should last the same as like a regular end mill, you know.
Yeah.
So we use a lot of ball end mills at work. I'm cutting a lot of aluminum though, not so much wood when I'm at work. But I know for all the stuff that I've done using the 1/4-inch, ball end mills, yeah, they last a really long time. I think I've only bought two in my entire home CNC career. So yeah, they last quite a while. But then again, I don't use it a lot. So
That's it. I don't do that often, but when I do, it could be a 10-hour cut. But and again, yeah, feeds and speeds obviously a big deal. I never get. If the bit gets hot, it's bad. I know that, and I just
yeah.
and they rarely get warm when I use them. So I like to think I've got it dialed in right. But
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, I bought some Amana or Amana, however you want to say it, ball nose bits, tapered ball nose bits at a wood show. So that's been a long time ago.
yeah,
And they still work, but of course, when I'm doing a 3D carve and using those, you're not really taking off a lot of material. You can really, because I'm not one of those guys that try to do it without using a roughing pass. I'll use a 1/4-inch end mill and do a roughing pass, and then come back and usually use a 1/8 tapered ball nose or something. But I can't tell you how long they last because it'll probably outlive me. So
Yeah. Ron, the dude who asked the question, he does more 3D carving than anyone I know. He could probably answer that question for us.
yeah, I mean, I guess you can wear them out if I'm sure people do a lot more stuff than I do. Okay.
Yeah. Ron was one of my original testers for the Skinny Jenny. It's awesome.
Okay. RL says he was the one that asked about the servos. He said he did get the drivers and the power supply. You're good to go then. Yeah, you're good to go if you got all that stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Faxoli, I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. If I post single operation from Fusion, it is giving limits for all operations. Is there a way to change this? All right, who's a Fusion user out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't use Fusion.
Giving limits.
I take all my Fusion and throw it into VCard or into Aspire.
Okay, so you don't use the CAM part of Fusion?
No, I personally don't.
Yeah. I mean, and I wouldn't either if I had VCard as well. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure about that one.
So it's been a really, really long time since I used Fusion to generate my G code. But the last time I did use it, I think I remember, I mean, it was similar to like Gibbs Cam, where you would open it up and then you start defining all your operation info. So where your depth of cut, your step over and all that stuff. There might be a section in there where you can edit those limits. Maybe there's a drop down somewhere in there. I'm not sure, but I know that there was a ton of information in Fusion 360 when it came to generating your toolpath. So I would look for a drop down somewhere. I don't know if that's any help, but that's what I would do.
No, I bet you're right actually on the Fusion because I poked around a little bit on it, and it just like Mach 3, you put in your basic settings on your table size and everything else and your limits. And I bet you 10 to 1, you're right. It's in Fusion. It's in the CAM program.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry asked, or no, I guess he's not asking. He's just telling us something. It is easier to keep a 24 by 24 torsion bed Gatton level. I flattened the first layer of MDF, then added T-track with MDF, skimmed it once to make sure it was proper, then only use fixtures. Yeah.
Fixtures are awesome.
Let's see here. I think this somebody, maybe a first-time watcher here. I don't remember seeing that. LGR FBS says, how well do you handle drawings in both millimeters and inches? I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's not a big deal because from my old day job when I used to work for the man, we had some companies that would send drawings over in Imperial, and some of them, we had German companies, and everything they did was in millimeters. So you just learn to work with them. You learn how to, some of the main things kind of stick with you when you think about, 25.4 millimeters is an inch. And then of course that's the number you use to divide into millimeters to get converted to inches. And, if you want to go the other way, you take the inches times 25.4 and do it that way. So it's just something I've had to deal with for so long. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Same here. Typically, whenever I'm dealing with a blueprint that's in metric, I try to keep it all in metric so that way I don't make a conversion error. And when I'm working with freedom numbers, I keep it in freedom numbers. I keep it in all standard. So I try my best not to convert, only because you can make a lot of scrap on accident if you accident. A lot of times, people do 25.4, but I'm the weird guy that always does 0.03937 and then divide it.
That's too many numbers. I can't remember but 3 numbers.
I don't know what it is, but I always go the 0.03937. It's just in my brain.
I know a lot of people just like that don't use 25.4. They use that other one. But that's too many numbers for this old pea brain.
So,
and the other thing is, like you said, when you start converting stuff, decimal points placement is everything. So.
Right. or if you fat finger something, so because of those reasons, if the print's in metric, I keep it in metric. But I also cheat though. Like I have digital 12-inch Mitutoyo calipers, and I just hit a button. It'll be inches or millimeters. Or I'll do the same thing with my mics.
Yeah.
Just use a lot of digital tools.
Yeah, I have that. What was the name of that company that sent me that Q something sent me that that caliper that had the. I did a review on it a while back. And those are pretty nice little things. I mean, they're cheap, but it's nice having that button to, like you said, switch from millimeters to inches and stuff. So
They got some. They have some calipers where you can hit a button for it to go from decimal to fractions, and it'll go from millimeter or standard. Like
Mine does all.
one,
Yeah, I have that one, but I never use the fraction. Never.
yeah. Well, the fractions they need to round it up to smaller stuff because the ones I have, it'll say like 121 128ths or something like that. And I'm like, what the? Nobody thinks in that kind of crazy measurement. So, if they just did it to like the nearest 32nd or something, that would be good. But I don't see any, or at least 64th, but I don't see any way to change it. So,
yeah.
All right, let's see.
Hey, Dave, before we move on to another one, can you check and see how many people we got in the giveaway for tonight, just to make sure that it's recording them?
It's rolling. We got 39, and since we're talking about that, here's the hashtag you need to put in the chat if you're just joining us here fairly recently. Put in hashtag Jenny, and you'll be in the live drawing we're going to do here in probably just a little bit because we're already over an hour here. But we got a ton of questions here, huh? Let's see here. Oh, Todd's got a comment going tonight. He says you should use all your messed up gun grips as door holding. Man, they just won't let that die.
Y'all should see the other side. The other side looks beautiful.
Yeah. All right. 3D HP says, Cody, do you have any video clips on how to make your bits, the process?
Yeah, so I have one video on my website. It's like a 2-minute video, but it shows the bits inside the machine. It's a really nice like 8-axis CNC grinder, and it's pretty cool to watch, man. It's moving all over the place, and there's a robotic arm that goes in there and grabs it, and it's completely automated, which is awesome. So I have a short little video. I think it's on the main page of my website.
Yeah, I've watched it. I love watching automation like that. It's just cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think the machine is. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's pretty cool just watching such a big machine make a small part like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's nice about it is, I don't think a lot of people really understand like all the ins and outs into the manufacturing process. I don't know if some people think I'm just like some dude like in my garage with a grinder like making it like like they're done on state-of-the-art machines. I mean, these are like $700,000 machines, and it's awesome because as it goes in there, it'll grab the bit, and it's got a Renshaw probe in there, and so it'll go in there, it'll measure the bit, measure the size of the wheel pack, and from the very first bit to the very last one, it's measuring and monitoring the process throughout the whole thing. And that's how we can really maintain the repeatability and the tight tolerance, is just because the type of technology that we're using. It's fun stuff, man. I love just going in there and nerding out and watching it. It's like watching a campfire. Like, it's cool stuff.
All righty. Marcelo's got a comment here that might be relevant to that other question we had about Fusion 360. It says only allows you to post one tool at a time if you are using the hobbyist license. Okay. Like I said, I don't know if that's part of what the other question was about or not. But CNC says, I'm wanting Cody to develop a very tiny tapered ball nose to use for V-carve inlays.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. I got to finish up with the tapered ball nose, the 1/4-inch ball nose, and the V-bits before I do anything else. So, but yeah, that's on the list. I definitely want to. I'd love to add. I want a whole line of
Yeah.
tapered ball noses from very small to up to 1/4-inch.
Yep. Alrighty. RLLM says, Cody Elkins, does your employer use tool life timers? We machine medical implants using titanium, and we use them so the bits are nearly perfect in shape.
Yeah, so we not when they're making the bits. I think it's kind of a totally different process. I know that like at the shop where I work at now, we do that often when we're doing big production jobs. We kind of have the tool detection, and then we have a probe that goes in there. It'll actually measure the length and the diameter. It can check it mid-flight to help measure and monitor that stuff throughout the manufacturing process. But I think on the CNC grinders, there's not necessarily a tool life timer because it's measuring the wheel pack as it's a part of the process. It's not something extra that you have to set up to do. And the other thing too is they're big stones. They're like, it's a CNC grinder that's cutting everything. So it's not like an end mill that's gonna like wear down or chip or break. So yeah, there's definitely in process measurements that are used to maintain, the quality and the tolerances throughout. So it'd be similar. I hope I answered your question. I don't know. I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent, but.
Okay. I think we are out of questions, which means probably be a good time to give away a Jenny bit. What do you say? We have, let me get it up here. Let's see. Put it up here. We've got 50 entries in it right now. If you want in on it, put the hashtag Jenny as it's shown right there. Hashtag Jenny. And we will give one of those suckers away. And let me show you which one. Again, if you're just joining us, we are giving away tonight the Downtown Jenny.
She's looking good.
Just an awesome. Just a little bit right there. I didn't even, I mentioned it to Ryan before we started going live here, and I forgot to mention it to anybody else, but I came out here all prepared. Last week I about tore my camera up and stuff, but I came out here prepared. I brought my Bluetooth headset, and I also have a second camera.
Nice.
Wherever it is. Let me do it there. So, every time I get prepared, in case somebody asks a question, they won't see me demonstrate something or whatever, then nobody does. So, that's all good. It was ready if needed. All right, looks like we're stuck on 50s. I just jumped 51. So we will get ready to hit the little button here and get somebody. Rob's got his fingers crossed, looks like. All right, looks like we're good on 51. So let's hit this one and see who wins the Downtown Jenny bit. Good luck, everybody.
Got it right here for you.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Jesse from JJ's Woodshop.
There you go.
Awesome. Congratulations, Jesse. You got the winner for tonight's Downtown Jenny.
Nice.
Congratulations. You will enjoy that for sure. And I guess just in case you don't know, make sure you contact Cody at www.cadencemfgdesign.com and send him an email and give him your shipping information and stuff, and he will get that out to you. So, and thanks again, Cody, for sponsoring this every week. You're pretty awesome for doing that. And
Yeah, I love being a part of the community and having the opportunity to do so. So thank you.
we certainly appreciate your. Oh, Jesse said that was a birthday present. Yeah, he just had a birthday
Happy birthday.
just the other day, I think. I think he turned
Yeah,
39 or something.
3DHP, his birthday's tomorrow. And even though you didn't win this time, you can always give yourself a birthday present and go to Cadence Manufacturing Engineering.
Yeah.
I butchered the name of the website. But go to Cody's site and order yourself one.
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but yeah, CadenceMFGDesign.com.
You know, most people just Google Jenny Bit and it'll pop right up.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. All righty. Well, I think, and we had a lot of really good questions tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
And thank
Yeah,
y'all.
it was a busy
for
one.
that. Thank y'all for tuning in and hanging out, giving up your Saturday night to hang out with us. We appreciate it, and I love being able to try to answer your questions anyway. And like I said, I should have mentioned that I had this other stuff set up, but if anybody ever wants something, me to show something, happy to do that. Because sometimes, and I know how it is, sometimes when you see it done, it makes sense. But when somebody just explains it to you, it doesn't make that much sense. So anyway, I got one more question I want to ask before we get out of here. You know, 3 weeks ago, I guess now, time goes by so quick, I can't remember how long it's been. But I had Stacy from G3 CNC on, and I'm wondering if, because he had that new product announcement where he's using that other board in his controller now, and I've just wondered if anybody in the chat has got one of those and what they think about it so far. So if you have one of those and got it running.
Was that the spindle controller?
Well, he was giving away a manual spindle controller, but he had several little product announcements.
Okay.
He's now, I guess you missed it. You must have been out of town that weekend,
Yeah.
Rob.
I rewatched it.
Okay, well, he's now using and I never can remember what it is, AXBB or something like that board, which is a board by the people that make UC CNC software, CNC Drive or CNC 4PNC, 4PC, I don't know, whatever it's called. But anyway, with that, it allows you to, because his old controller, you pretty much had to use Mach 3. And with this one, you could use Mach 3, Mach 4, or UC CNC software. And the board is like a motion controller board / breakout. So it's pretty much a plug and play unit like his other one was, but this one's gives people a lot more options with, because a lot of people might want a plug and play controller, but they're not keen on Mach 3 or something like that. So anyway.
Awesome.
Looks like Georgia Bubba ordered one. And should be there shortly.
All right. Well, let us know, Ed, when you get that and get it hooked up running, what you think about it. Wade says, I guess he's talking about, I can't get it to stay on here. It says I run Mach 3 on it, so Okay. Alrighty. All right. Well, I guess we'll. Okay. Yeah. Wade. Here it is. He says I run an ABBA-E. Okay. I wasn't even close, was I? And I had the A part right. That's about it. All right. Well, I guess we're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all hanging in with us tonight, and lots of great questions, man. I appreciate those. And that's what we want to try to do here. If if you're new to CNC, or maybe you haven't even got into CNC yet and you got questions, this is the place to be. Ask them. We have not only myself, but we always have a panel of some pretty smart dudes here.
Yeah.
And we can usually tell you something. So anyway, Rob, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to see you again.
Yep.
And Paul, thank you for coming on the panel. Appreciate you. And Sean, good. I'm glad you sent me a thing and said, "Hey, I'm free tonight," because it's like I told you when you were on here the last time. Don't be a stranger. Once you come on, don't mean you can't come back. So you can come back anytime. And Cody, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you again so much for sponsoring the giveaway. And
Thank you guys.
that's just an awesome deal you work out for folks. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. And if I can get the right button up here, I have to be careful. I don't see so good. But
See you
hey,
guys.
the camera worked all night. Did you notice that?
Yes.
It did.
It worked all
It
night.
did.
All
There's
right,
no day falling off at all.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you
Yeah.
next week.